Hey, Chief. Just a reminder to kick off some research projects. We don't want to fall behind our rivals, and we haven't got anything in the pipeline at the moment. Thanks.
As night falls in Singapore, the track starts to warm up, and it'll be red hot by the time we find out who's on pole for tomorrow's race. Time to set the grid then. Welcome along to qualifying here in Singapore.
Wow, that was a heck of an impact. Let me know you're okay.
Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix. Marina Bay hosted a Grand Prix that briefly ran in the 60s and 70s, but the Garden City re-entered the calendar for good in 2008. We missed it for a couple of years, but it was great to come back to the Singapore Grand Prix. And here's our track, 4.94 kilometres long, and overtaking chances into the first corner, into turn 14 at the end of the Esplanade, and now into turn 16 in the newly reprofiled sector that we first ran on in 2023. Still though, it's punishing and tough on the brakes, and the heat and humidity will take an effect on our drivers. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Piastri, Fernando Alonso and Albon, Russell, Antonelli, Norris and Lewis Hamilton, Stroll, Tsunoda, Ollie Behrman and Lawson, Ocon, Hadjar, Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg, Bortoleto, Doohan, Miata and Victor Martins rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. And with me for this commentary this afternoon, former racing driver Naomi Schiff. Look, we know it's not where you start, it's where you finish. But let's talk about the start now. What's there to help the drivers get away well?
Well, the race is certainly not won in the first lap, let alone turn one. However, what you can do is prepare yourself ahead of time. Visualize what could potentially happen, different scenarios and where you could place your car. And that will better prepare you to make the right decision with instinctive timing.
This is not going to be an easy race from this position, but just give it your best shot. Need to give that place back, I'm afraid. That was an illegal overtake. Okay, take it easy on the car, we can't sustain this level of damage. Okay mate, don't worry about the damage. I've got some new strategy options if you go and check your MFD. Copy. All right, we'll be doing one more stop today. One stop left in this strategy. DRS now enabled. DRS enabled. Okay, I've got a brand new race strategy on your MFD if you want to go and check it out. Copy that. Okay, we may have a slow puncher in the right rear tyre. We're seeing a pressure loss. Okay, mate, we might need to look at a new race strategy after that. I've got some options for you, so go and check your MFD. Blue flag, blue flag. Understood, copy that. Okay, blue flag conditions, create a gap and let the car behind through. Up to speed now, let's get some heat into those tyres. No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving. Okay, be careful with the front wing, you've taken some minor damage. flag. Okay, safety car deployed, safety car's been deployed. Watch your delta, make sure you keep it positive as we catch the pack. Okay, slow down, your delta's negative, which means you're going too fast. Reduce your pace. Right, drop your speed. Our delta's too low and we're going to risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately. And that's Ritomo in the pits. Ritomo is in the pits. You've got to give that position back, mate. We're under safety car conditions and you can't overtake. Return the position. There's a new strategy available on the MFD. Okay, copy that. Okay, this is Mark. I need you to stop cutting the corners. If you keep it up, the stewards are going to give you a penalty. Safety car in this lap. Safety car in this lap. Let's make sure those tyres are up to temperature, and remember, there's no overtaking until the timing line. Stay in position until the green flags. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go. Okay, listen, don't worry about it, mate. It can happen to the best of us. Now look, I've put a new strategy option for you in the MFD, so go and have a look. Got that, confirmed. That looked bad. Are you alright? Let me know you're okay.
Charles Leclerc, what a drive, what a victory, he wins!
Wow, that's 3 wins in a row. They really are on a roll now and really building great momentum. They are clearly one to look out for.
It's what every driver imagines when they start out on their long road towards Formula One. And for our lucky 3 today, here's the podium waiting for them. And that is a fabulous win. And the top step of the podium for Charles Leclerc. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Boss, we need your attention on something, please.
Okay, set. Now we wait. Hopefully we'll hear back soon, but these things do tend to drag on. Let's keep our fingers crossed and just focus on what we can control. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
Bit of a setback here.
Boss, notice that we've got some cash not currently invested into anything. Maybe think about buying some facility improvements. It's great to keep HQ up to date and ensure we can hit our goals.
It's a United States love affair with Formula One at the moment, so what a thrill for everyone today to see our drivers lapping COTA at full hot lap speed. It's the Circuit of the Americas, and it's qualifying. And that's it for sprint qualifying. Plenty more coming up over the rest of the weekend. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. It's the Circuit of the Americas then, situated 14 miles outside of the great city of Austin. This is a 3.6-mile lap with 20 corners, 10 to the left and 10 to the right, and top speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Overtaking opportunities are available into turns 1 and 12, especially with that rear wing DRS wide open. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Piastri, George Russell and Sainz, Ocon, Norris, Fernando Alonso and Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Tsunoda, Albon, Pierre Gasly and Stroll, Hülkenberg, Behrman, Gabriel Bortoleto and Liam Lawson, Hadjar, Doohan, Miata and Victor Martins rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out. Alongside me here in the commentary box today, former racing driver extraordinaire Naomi Schiff. Well, they say that a change is as good as a rest, and whilst there's not much rest on show in the sprint format today, there's definitely a change to what we're usually seeing on the track. Look, we know it's not where you start, it's where you finish, but let's talk about the start now. What's there to help the drivers get away well?
Well, the race is certainly not won in the first lap, let alone turn 1. However, what you can do is prepare yourself ahead of time. Visualize what could potentially happen, different scenarios and where you could place your car, and that will better prepare you to make the right decision with instinctive timing.
Back of the grid, not great, I know, but let's just try and use the first lap to push your way up the order. Okay, you've taken damage to the side pods. Expect to feel a little bit more drag than normal. Okay mate, don't worry about the damage. I've got some new strategy options if you go and check your MFD. Confirmed. Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track. We can now use DRS. DRS now available. The bodywork's taken a few scrapes. Try not to make it any worse, please. So we're expecting rain in about 10 to 15 minutes. And gap to the car in front, 43.8 seconds. Are you okay? That was a big one. Confirm you're okay, please.
So with the sprint concluded, join us next time for qualifying. And of course, the main event, this weekend's Formula One Grand Prix. We'll see you next time. It's a United States love affair with Formula One at the moment, so what a thrill for everyone today to see our drivers lapping COTA at full hot lap speed. It's the Circuit of the Americas, and it's qualifying. Well, you don't need me to remind you that Formula One is now so beloved in the United States that we race here 3 times a year. But let's give respect to COTA, or the Circuit of the Americas, to give it its full name. This place laid the foundations for this moment and still remains the host of the US Grand Prix. We have 10 turns to the left and 10 turns to the right here at the fantastic Circuit of the Americas. Overtaking opportunities into turn 1 and turn 12 at this anti-clockwise track. It's 3.6 miles long, and we should see average lap speeds of around 126 miles per hour. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Sainz, Fernando Alonso and Verstappen, Piastri, Gasly, Antonelli and Yuki Tsunoda, Ocon, Bortoleto, Lance Stroll and Norris, Hülkenberg, Albon, Isaac Hadjar and Ollie Behrman, Doohan, Martins, Miata and Liam Lawson rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And joining me in the commentary box today with the best view on what is about to unfold and some strong views on the action we're about to see, Naomi Schiff. And let's talk momentum with this driver. What a sprint it was. They start at 0 once again for today, but with a huge amount of confidence, surely. Well, they'll definitely be glad that there's not a sprint race today. Let's face it, the sprint couldn't have gone much worse, but what we're looking for today is a reaction. Now, I'll be generous here. It's not that long ago that you were racing and entertaining us on a Sunday, but in the years since, the sport has changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
It is certainly an interesting time in this set of regulations because, as you know, when a new set of regulations come out, everything changes and you always wonder who's got it right. Well, we know that Red Bull are the ones who really got it right the last couple of years. But now you can see the rest of the grid slowly start to catch up. And there's really only so much left for Red Bull to get out of these regulations. So it is interesting, and the pack are catching up.
I know you're frustrated to be this far back on the grid, but you've got to keep that under control. Keep a cool head and work your way through the field gradually as you go. It's not all going to be won or lost at the first corner. Are you all right? Engine off, engine off.
And Leclerc to the line, to the checkered flag. It's King Charles today. He wins.
Wow, 4 wins in a row. Can you believe it? This really does start to mark a moment of dominance in this season for this driver.
From lights out to the checkered flag, This is what they're racing for. It's points and a trip to the podium. And who gets to take the top step of the podium? Yes, it is I, Leclerc. Charles Leclerc on top. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Hi. Notice we've got some spare cash reserves. Obviously, I know you've got other priorities, but don't forget you can upgrade the corporate facility whenever you like. We're worth it, I promise.
What an atmosphere we've got. The fans have been here since dawn, and the stadium, the Faro Sol, is absolutely heaving. We're about to get set to set the grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. It's qualifying day here in Mexico City. With qualifying complete, all that remains now is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow. Bienvenidos to the most populous city in North America. The legendary Jim Clark won the first official F1 race back in 1963 here, and we've had a veritable who's who of winners ever since. It's Mexico City, and therefore the Mexico City Grand Prix. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right and the remaining 7 going to the left. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ocon, Leclerc, Lando Norris, and Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Hamilton, Hülkenberg, and Carlos Sainz, Behrman, Antonelli, Pierre Gasly, and Albon, Piastri, Stroll, Isaac Hadjar, and Gabriel Bortoleto, Doohan, Lawson, Martins, and Ritomo Miata rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me a man, well, what more can I say? But he's a legend, Anthony Davidson. So here we are, 2.2 kilometres up in the air, which I know is an unusual feeling for you, Mr. Davidson, but for the drivers, it's even worse.
It is. The altitude can certainly get to your head, Crofty, that's for sure. Especially when you're walking up the stairs to the commentary box. I've seen it firsthand, ladies and gentlemen, don't you worry. But this circuit, the problem with the altitude is it takes away your downforce. You have to go slower around the corners because you've got less downforce, even though you've got Monaco wing packages on your car. That's the challenge of this incredibly unique circuit.
Okay, let's try not to worry about being down here at the back. You've got the speed, you've got the car, so just take it easy and the race will come to you. Side pods have taken damage, you might start to pick up a little bit extra drag. Mind that front wing, it's going to need replacing if it takes too much damage. OK, we can take you this lap. OK, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track. OK, DRS is now available. OK, you've taken damage to the side pods. Expect to feel a little bit more drag than normal. Okay, I've got a brand new race strategy on your MFD if you want to go and check it out. Copy. Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them. If you continue to cut corners, the stewards are going to give you a penalty. Be careful. Okay, we've got a full course caution. The safety car's out. Keep an eye on the delta. We need to keep it positive to avoid a penalty. Slow down, maintain positive delta. The pit box is currently full. Stay out on track. Stay out. Well, what happened? Let me know you're okay.
Jack is back, ladies and gentlemen, on the top step of the podium. Jack Doohan wins.
They had to be decisive with their overtaking today as they worked their way through the field. And those kind of race victories are so enjoyable because it's not just like winning from the front. They really had to work for it today.
What a day it's been for Formula One, and what a day it's been for these three drivers. Time for the podium celebrations. Time for our drivers to celebrate. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Hey boss, what do you make of this? We've heard back on this. Thought you'd want to know.
Just a reminder that we've still got space in the car for some more secondary sponsors. The more we have, the more revenue we'll generate.
It's a Saturday showdown. Anyone fancy some hot laps around Interlagos? It's qualifying day here for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Are you okay? That was a nasty hit. Turn the engine off and wait for the marshals.
And that's it for sprint qualifying. Plenty more coming up over the rest of the weekend. So we'll see you all tomorrow. So it's all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if, of course, the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Piastri, Yuki Tsunoda and Albon, Norris, Antonelli, Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly and Behrman, Stroll, Doohan, Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson, Bortoletto, Hulkenberg, Martins and Ritomo Miata rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint. Well, it's been a long time since I last worked with you. Good to see you again today. Anthony Davidson. Well, we celebrated their first appearance on the grid. Let's look back now at what has been a really good first season for our new team.
Yeah, they've made it through the entire season in Formula One, Crofty. No mean feat at all. And they've learnt a lot this season. They can take that knowledge into next year to hopefully have an even better season.
I know you're gutted to be starting from here, but just focus on putting that and some other cars behind you. Good luck. Side pods have taken damage. Keep an eye on your engine temp. Wow, that was a heck of an impact. Let me know you're okay.
Well, that's an end to the sprint action. Next up, it's a Saturday showdown. Anyone fancy some hot laps around Interlagos? It's qualifying day here for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Welcome along then to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the very final corner. And just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. Two very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junsao into one of the two DRS zones will be key to any overtaking prospects today. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Piastri, Carlos Sainz and Albon, Norris, Tsunoda, Ocon and Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Antonelli, Nico Hülkenberg and Behrman, Hamilton, Stroll, Isaac Hadjar and Gabriel Bortoleto, Doohan, Lawson, Martins and Ritomo Miata rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me in the commentary box, my old friend Anthony Davidson. And let's talk momentum with this driver. What a sprint it was. They start at 0 once again for today, but with a huge amount of confidence, surely. Well, they'll definitely be glad that there's not a sprint race today. Let's face it, the sprint couldn't have gone much worse, but what we're looking for today is a reaction. Interlagos, always one of my favourite weekends of the season. Love Brazil, adore this track.
Absolutely spot on, Crofty. I wish you could pick this circuit up and place it, copy-paste it on multiple different locations around the planet, because it is sensational to watch, sensational to drive, and for all these drivers here in Brazil, it's a great time to get stuck into this Interlagos circuit. It's an anti-clockwise track, lots of important corners to get right, and it's a track where you can make or lose an awful lot of lap time.
We're at the back, but give it 100% and we can still come away with a decent result. I believe in you. Come on. That looked bad. Are you all right? Let me know you're okay.
Here's the checkered flag. Here's our winner. By George, he's done it. Russell wins.
They led from lights out to the flag at the end, and their race victory was never in doubt, was it? Brilliant stuff by them.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've absolutely loved watching that action today, and I'm sure these three have loved taking part. Here come our podium finishers. And taking his place on the top step of the podium, he gave it some hustle. Well done to George Russell. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Boss, need to make you aware of something. Another team has made an approach for one of the drivers we're talking.
Stand by to see cars at more than 210 miles an hour blasting their way down the strip. F1 has taken over. It's F1 Fever, Las Vegas. Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out. Welcome along to Las Vegas, and Formula One might be in the middle of the Nevada desert, but who'd have thought it? It's raining out there. Now, how will that affect the drivers as they race along the strip? Well, tonight we go racing around the bright lights of Las Vegas, 3.8 miles under the Nevada night sky and thousands of neon lights. There are landmarks everywhere you look, punctuating the 17 corners and 2 DRS zones. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Miata, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and Hamilton, Ocon, Piastri, Hülkenberg, and Alex Albon, Sainz, Norris, Fernando Alonso, and Behrman, Bortoleto, Hadjar, Pierre Gasly, and Yuki Tsunoda, Lawson, Doohan, Martins, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And alongside me today, a man who I'm always pleased to see join me in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. Quitting while you're ahead, not spending too much on the slot machines and trying to get some decent sleep. That's my main three challenges here in Las Vegas, but what about the drivers?
Yeah, speaking about the on-track challenges, Crofty, enough about you and your challenge over the weekend. This track, you're on Monza downforce, don't forget. So every corner that comes your way, you've got way less grip than you're accustomed to in a Formula One car. So you've got to tread carefully, particularly around the higher speed content on the circuits.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down. Okay, you have a lot of front wing damage. Box for a new one. Virtual safety car deployed. Slow down and maintain a positive delta. Virtual safety car is deployed. Okay, mate, we might need to look at a new race strategy after that. I've got some options for you, so go and check your MFD. Copy that. Are you okay? That was a big one. Confirm you're okay, please. With the safety car out, this is a good opportunity to pit. We'll be a bit longer than planned on the next tyres, but we can make it work. Just remember, we'll probably lose track position.
Charles Leclerc, what a drive, what a victory, he wins!
This race really mattered for them today, Crofty. You know, it's close in the Drivers' Championship. You feel that pressure as a driver as it gets towards the end of the championship, and you know, it's a big relief. It's a weight off of your shoulders, and you'll know that it was a job well done.
Well, it's been a long wait for many of our drivers, but the wait is always worth it. Bring them out to the awaiting crowd. It's time for our podium celebrations. And that is a fabulous win and the top step of the podium for Charles Leclerc. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Boss, we've hit a major milestone. Things are really coming together.